You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on the irlonestar.com.
Our talk shows and music shows are looking for sponsors. Want to expand your brand awareness? Reach the hyper-local audience in Montgomery County? Lone Star Community Radio sponsorships accomplish this. Want to see our stats and rates? Check out irlonestar.com/sponsor for more information. Or call in and leave us a message at 936-647-3776 with your questions. Get seen on TV, YouTube, and heard on our podcast, FM, and internet radio. Support your local radio station with Lone Star Community Radio.
Good morning, everybody. This is the Cindy Cochran Show, and you're listening live from downtown Conroe, beautiful downtown Conroe. And it is Tuesday. Yes, Truthful Tuesday. And I've got someone that's going to be on in just a few moments. Mindy Miller. Mindy Miller is so cool. I mean, this is very, very cool. That she is one of the last girlfriends of Elvis Presley. And she knew him, and they ran around together. They had a good time together. They she met all the people that he knew, and she dated him for a few years, and this was right before his passing in 1977. So she has a lot of stories. A lot of people have wanted to interview her. She had just started. In fact, she gave us her first interview last year. We got her to do that, and she had a good time. But she has been going, and I mean, everywhere to different places that are doing tributes to Elvis, and she goes and she tells her stories, and it's so exciting for the fans to get to meet one of his girlfriends and talk to her. And so she goes around because she said what she wants is to make sure that a positive image that she knows that Elvis, wanted to make sure everybody understood that where he was, and it wasn't anything negative or to think of a dark side of Elvis. Know that he was very positive, and it had become very spiritual in the last years of his life. And he was, I loved to talk to Mindy, and Mindy was very spiritual herself, and so they got along and they connected on that level. But she wasn't that, like a fan of his. She was much younger than he was. And so after she met him and got to know the man, Elvis, and got to know all of his history and all the things that he has done, wow, she definitely was a number one fan. So she's just got back from, doing this tour, and she did an Elvis Fest in Las Vegas. We're going to talk about that and talk about the ETAs. ETA is not what you think it is. It's an Elvis tribute artist, and these guys compete. And she was always turned off of this, especially after Elvis' death, to see these people trying to imitate him, and it really bothered her. But in this last year, she was introduced in a different way to these people who really love him and want to, keep his memory and his legend going. And these people are phenomenal. And she really found someone that she thinks is going to be the one that's going to keep his memory and all going. And we're going to talk to her about that. We're doing a real short first segment, and then we're going to get Mindy on the phone and talk to her. And she's very excited. I've always talked to her this morning, and she's very excited to talk to everybody here. She loves us. She really does. And it's all because of Don Wilson, who will be on tomorrow. And Don Wilson was mentored by Elvis. After the tragic loss of all of his family, Elvis found out about this and then took him under his wing. And so Don has many stories, and he has met everybody, and he knows everybody. And so we're going to talk to him tomorrow. But right now, we want to just make sure everybody is cuddled up to their favorite computer, are listening to us maybe on 106.1 or 104.5 FM. And then, of course, you can always globally, we're everywhere, so anybody. And that's how Mindy found us and Don found us. So anyway, we are going to be back. And We will make sure that you stay with us, and Mindy Miller will be right up when we come back. We want to thank Wooten Financial Group.
Jake the engineer. We want
and
to thank
Jake the engineer. We want to thank Austin McComb. We want to thank Richard,
our wonderful
Schissler.
Station manager.
Yes, and Conroe Coffee as well.
We're thanking everybody this morning. We're in a thankful mood.
Thankful Tuesday. It's Truthful Tuesday, and that's why we have Mindy Miller coming up to talk about her life with Elvis and tell us the truth. She does not lie. Okay, we'll be right back. You listen to the Cindy Cochran Show, Real Reality Radio.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on irlonestar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available in Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
The Texas A&M AgriLife Extension Service has been dedicated to educating Texans for over a century. In 1915, the Extension Program was established under the federal Smith-Lever Act to deliver university knowledge and agricultural research findings directly to the people. Ever since, AgriLife Extension programs have addressed the emerging issues of the day, serving diverse populations across the state. Texans turn to Extension for solutions in horticulture, agriculture, 4-H and youth, and family and consumer sciences. Extension agents respond not only with answers, but also with resources and services that result in significant returns on investment to boost the economy. Join us Fridays at 1 o'clock for the AgriLife Extension Hour.
And you're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Yes, you are. And we're so happy to have you. Now, a lot of excited Elvis fans are out there waiting to hear the truth about dating Elvis. I mean, there's so many women out there that are like my age that may be going, oh, what would it have been like if I had dated Elvis? You know, if he just only known me, he would have asked me out. Well, we've got someone who actually dated Elvis Presley and was his love for a few years there. And it was before his death that she, in the 70s, late 70s, that she was dating him. And we're going to get the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth from Mindy Miller. And let me show you something. Okay. Everybody that will... Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, it went dark. That's why. Everybody that has watches this show on YouTube will see this right now. This is a picture of Mindy and Elvis, and she's the one that's up in the corner, and that's Elvis at the bottom. I just want to make sure everybody didn't know. Anyway, so that's what she just sent me, this picture, and a fan did this for her, and it's really cool. It's so cute, very precious. All right, so we've got Mindy Miller live on the phone. Are you still alive there, Mindy?
I'm live, but I'm tired.
Poor thing. You just got back from Las Vegas at the Elvis Fest, and you're having to talk to me the next day.
Oh, but I love it. I was so looking forward to this, and I said the best part of it is I don't have to be physically seen, so I can I can take a break, you know, because this was I would tell you, Cindy, this was a whirlwind weekend. I was not prepared for everything I saw and did. This was crazy, but crazy great, crazy fun.
Well, I was so glad that we caught you on the other side of that trip so that you can tell us about the fans and how crazy they were and the type of questions you get. We're dying to find out. What do fans ask you?
Goodness. I honest to God, you get everything. Like, did you suck his toes? What are her feet like? Did he snore? But they didn't ask those questions publicly. I'd be walking through the casino, going to get a bite to eat with a producer or something like that, and they would just stop me and say, "Look, I know I can't ask this question publicly. I know it's in poor taste, but can you tell me what did his feet look like?"
Okay, that's weird. That's so strange that did you answer?
Well,
did you go like, yeah,
no,
there were two
I
of
told
them.
The truth. They're very random questions sometimes, but people want to know. And I think now that people are beginning to know me a little bit and know I have a hopefully crazy sense of humor like Elvis did, I'm not going to lie to them. I mean, if there's something I can't answer, I say, I'm sorry. I just, I'm not comfortable answering that, and that's not something I'm able to share with you. But something about you have pretty feet, he wouldn't minded me answering that. And he had gorgeous feet. He had beautiful toes and beautiful feet. He had everything on the man was beautiful. I mean, it was just incredible. But so you do get sometimes these random questions, but they were very, very respectful after the interview during the question and answer part to Dave Hebler and myself.
That's hilarious. Because I thought I was going to be so. I was so worried about asking you the question last time you were on that my sister said she wanted to find out. She said, this is the only question I have for her. Just ask her this. And I went, okay. And I said, okay, one more in-depth question I have. Was he a good kisser? And you just answered that question. I mean, quickly. It wasn't even you had to think about it. It was yes, of course, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely.
I didn't ask Cynthia Pepper that when she was on. When I interviewed her, Cynthia Pepper, you got to see her and meet her. I saw a picture of y'all together at the Elvis Fest, and she was co-starred with Elvis in Kissing Cousins. And of course, Kissing Cousins, I didn't ask her was, how was Kissing Elvis? But she just loved him. It was a great interview with her and her time with him on set.
And she's a sweet girl. I did a little interview with her and Dave Hebler and Tanya Lamani, who were all there. And, I didn't realize that Cynthia was so petite. She's a tiny little thing. And I said to her, I said to her, isn't it funny how the cameras really are very deceiving. And she said, well, she says, when I first saw Raquel Welch in person and I saw Elizabeth Taylor in person, she said, they're tiny. And she said, Raquel came across as a big, strapping girl. And I said, yeah. I said, when I was growing up, I always thought she was like an Amazonian kind of woman because of the way the pictures were done and her body. And she was tiny. She was petite. So was Elizabeth Taylor. And so I said, I had no idea you were so tiny. And she said, well, I am. And she said, I was made to look even tinier because, Elvis is 6'1". So, depending on the boots he wore and the size of the heel of his shoe, he'd go up an inch and a half or two, so you never knew. But she was a sweetheart. And she shared about Kissing Cousins and working with them and all that, too.
Yeah, it was so fun to talk to her. And I know that Don has in the works. We've been trying to get the woman who played his sister in King Creole. Because I saw the video that I don't know whose website I saw it on, that they had a party and all the stars were there and the crew, a birthday party at her house, and Elvis was acting, just like some teenage kid at a party and playing the piano and singing and entertaining everybody. It was really cute, and I love to talk to her as well. Back in the day, way back in the day, when he did that movie. But anyway, your dating time it was late 70s, right?
Well, late 70s, I would consider, like 77, 78, and he, had
passed away, right?
But I always want to say this to the fans, because I don't want them to think I'm lying or that I'm trying to make more of my dating him than it was. I met him March the 12th in 1975, and he asked me to be his girlfriend and move from Rome, Italy, where I was living, and I had come back for that week to close at my apartment and all that. And so he did something which was incredible. The night after our second date, he said he had to go back to Graceland, and he was getting ready to go on tour, and that he wanted me to go on the first leg of his tour in the South, which started in Florida. And in order for me to stay, I had already given up my apartment. I'd given, all of that. I was packing the rest of my clothes to go back. And he called Joe Esposito. And Joe's former wife, Joni, met me the third night that I was there. And I was supposed to leave the next day to go back to Italy to live. And Joni came and met me at a particular place, and she handed me an envelope. And she said, Elvis wanted me to give this to you so that you'd be able to stay here and be with him. And I opened up the envelope, and I was in shock. There was $5,000 in the envelope.
Grief.
I know. And and now don't forget that the first night I met him, in the first hour, he offered to buy me a car. He brought out the jewelry case. He was going through all of his jewelry, and he said, I want to give you a little something, honey, And I said, no. There's no way I can take that. And I can't accept a car from you. I didn't want things from this man. I thought, if I'm going to get to know him, I want to know him. And if something happens between us and we become a boyfriend and girlfriend, or there's a relationship that ensues, it becomes a different situation. But I'm not taking random gifts from someone, and I wasn't brought up that way. You don't take expensive gifts from a man like that when you don't know him, because it connotates something else. And I was not introduced to him as a fan. And again, I think I said on the last show, I went because I was invited to a party at his house. I didn't even know he was going to be there, nor did I have any inkling that I would meet the man. Mm-hmm. So it was all kind of a ruse to get me there without telling me anything, I guess in hopes that I would like him and he would like me. But there was $5,000 there, and it turned out that I was given that money by him to be able to keep the apartment, pay the first and last on it, and, get a job, get a new agent. And then he wanted me to send for everything that I had in Italy without having to go back to Italy and get it. So I had to make arrangements and set up to have people pack my clothing and everything else from Rome and send everything back to me here in America, and then get ready to go on tour with them in the next couple of weeks.
Grief.
So that was a bit, how random is that?
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
Well, that's what, people that say that were around him and all that, you expect the unexpected, because he doesn't operate like everybody else does in a normal realm.
Yeah, and one of the questions that I was asked by our MC and stage manager and producer she's wonderful, Nareda Howe. She and her husband Russ have one of the largest collections of Elvis memorabilia, and they run the King's Ransom Museum in Las Vegas, and they also attended Sonny West's funeral this last month or so. And so they're wonderful, wonderful, great, wonderful people. And through Nareda, I was asked to go to the Elvis Fest this year. But, one of the questions that she had asked me was, what was it like having a date with Elvis? And I said, you can't. There's no just going out to dinner or seeing a film.
Right. Unless you rent the restaurant and rent the movie theater. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unless you rent the Memphian or whatever it was, and you rent out the whole theater. And so, this was not a normal. There was nothing average and normal about Elvis Presley. And yet, having said that, he was, on a personal level, just the most normal guy you'd ever want to know. But he didn't do normal things. He couldn't do just normal things. He couldn't just go to a movie. He probably could have, had he gone in, a couple of minutes after the movie started and it was dark, and leave. But, but why? He could rent the whole theater, invite all his friends, have all the popcorn he wanted,
That is so cool. I mean,
it's so cool.
When I first heard about him having to do that, and it was kind of sad. I thought, that's sad. You're like really, enslaved to the all the fame that you've built. You can't get out and really have fun and enjoy it. Although he did, when you told the story about y'all taking the car to the gas station. If you'll just tell that story, and that was great.
And did I tell you the story last time about when we went to the funeral for Captain Kennedy in Denver, Colorado, and after the funeral we went to a restaurant? Did I tell you that story?
No.
Oh, well, this was so funny. He loved to shock people. He loved to do things for shock value. He was crazy like that. And, his nickname was Crazy. Everybody called him Crazy because that was his nickname. And so after the funeral that we attended, they had given him a police uniform and a police hat. And, of course, he was in his glory. He was like a kid in a candy store. And he didn't want to get out of the police uniform. He wanted to keep it on. So we were all really hungry. We had flown in that day from Graceland at the last minute, so we didn't pack any clothes, nothing. We literally got on a plane. He got a call from Captain Kennedy and said, "Can you come out for?" I think it was his cousin's funeral, and we literally got on the Lisa Marie, and literally the clothes on our back. I grabbed my purse and that was it. I didn't even have a toothbrush, and so we had no time to pack. Flew into Colorado. Completely different weather than the Graceland weather, and we flew in and went to the funeral just like we had dressed from how we were in Graceland. But so they gave him the uniform, and after that, a whole bunch of us, I think Joe Patricio and a bunch of us, went to the Denver Mining Company, which was this great restaurant where they had the peanut butter and fried banana sandwiches.
That was his
so
favorite.
So they made us one of the big, long, and then, this was long. This was a long, long sandwich. And, they were cutting it up and serving it to everybody. And I guess, Elvis, I don't remember exactly what Elvis ate, but they started serving us, and we were sat in a kind of a private area, private room, And so Elvis thought that, well, nobody's going to recognize him. So all of a sudden he gets up, and I said, I said, where are you going? He said, well, I'm just going to take a walk. I go, what do you mean you're going to take a walk? I said, our dinner just got here. And he said, and I'm talking to him like my boyfriend. I'm not talking to him like Elvis Presley, the star, and the whole thing.
Yeah, sit down, quit embarrassing me.
Yeah, I said, where are you going? Just like you say to anybody, where are you going? And he said, well, I'm going to take a walk around the restaurant. I said, Elvis, what are you talking about? You're going to take a... He said, well, nobody's going to recognize me. I go, yeah, they are. And he goes, no, they're not. He goes, I'm in costume, kind of, He says, I got my hat on, I got my uniform on, nobody's going to recognize me. So he started walking through the restaurant and going up to every single table and going, good evening, ma'am. How you doing, sir? And bending over and shaking everybody's hand. And how you doing tonight? Are you having a good dinner? And, people did look at him strangely, but they didn't. They did not
connect.
They did not. Oh. They did not. They did not put two and two together. So he was in his glory. And then, you'd hear at the different tables, I don't know if that's Elvis Presley. It kind of looks like him, but I don't know if that's really him. It looks like his nose. Well, I don't know. Look at him from the side. Does he walk the same way? And you could hear this conflict. You could hear this mumbling through the restaurant. And, then people started realizing it. And he finally got to one table. And this one lady started shrieking, oh, my God, it's Elvis Presley!
Oh, that's...
And then the whole place just went crazy. And at that point, Elvis, he said, oh, my God. And he ran back to the table. Oh, my God, I got to go.
That is great. See, nobody knows these kind of stories that he did. But what got me when you told the story about y'all going up to the gas, you had to get gas in the car, y'all were driving around and you stopped it, and you said Elvis liked to, when he could, like, get the gas himself, and they did. And
he had just had just bought me the 455 4-speed Hurst clutch Trans Am, and he wanted to drive the car around, so I never even got to drive my car. That's the first time. Elvis was the one that drove it. He drove it to Palm Springs. I mean, he loved it. And so we went to gas the car up, and he wanted to get out and gas it himself. He didn't want anybody to do it. And, again, it was shock value. He wanted to see if anybody recognized him. He could get away with it. And, of course, slowly people started coming up. They didn't put two and two together. And, at the end of the whole thing, a couple of the bodyguards had to get out of the car and go up and get him and walk him back to the car because people were coming up and circling around him and then wanting autographs and all this. They thought, we got to protect him. And so, they walked him back to the car. And then, of course, before... when they came with the bill to sign the bill, Elvis said, and he said, I'm paying for everybody else's gas, too.
I love that. I love that. Mindy.
Such a random guy. I mean, he just did things that were just so off the chain, Cindy.
See, that's what I mean. And, of course, this interview is off the chain because we're finding out stuff that a lot of people never even heard of. We're listening to Mindy Miller.
Well, you know why? Because they're my stories, and I have never been out there. So I haven't been out there in 40 years, and I only came out a year and a half ago, so they're my stories, so nobody's ever heard them.
And that's what and when we got to interview you first, that was such an honor. But, Mindy, we got to take a break, and we're going to be right back with you. And we've got so many questions, so little time.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk to you about the Elvis Fest. I mean, how great was this Elvis Fest? Wow.
We're going to talk about that coming up. So, guys, stay with us. Everybody stay with us, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show, which is real reality radio, and it's Truthful Tuesday. And we have the perfect person to tell us all the truth, and nothing but the truth. Mindy Miller, one of Elvis Presley's last girlfriends. So, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internships, Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to learn the radio and TV business. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776. Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world.
Hey, Lone Star Country listeners, it's your girl Meredith, and we're starting a new tradition on Monday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. That's right, your Monday nights will never be the same. Be sure to tune in for some great country hits and the classics we love, only on Conroe's FM 104.5 and 106.1, and online at irlonestar.com. That's Lone Star Country Nights on Monday nights from 7 to 9 p.m.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app for your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That is Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1.
And we're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Thank you so much for listening. And I know we've got a lot of new people listening. I know one person listening for sure is Don Wilson. We say good morning to you and thank you for introducing us to Mindy Miller, one of Elvis's last girlfriends, and she is just like she said before we went to the break, has come out to start talking about the stories that she has of Elvis and all, and kept quiet for almost 40 years, but decided that there was a lot of stuff that would come out negative, and she wanted to make sure that people understood all the positive side to Elvis and keep the great legend and memory alive. And Mindy, thank you so much for being with us. I missed you from the last time that we had our.
You are. Cindy, you're so much fun to talk to. I think we should do a Cindy and Mindy show.
I love that. Cindy and Mindy show. Jake, the engineer, is going.
It's not really, but it sounds good.
It does. It certainly does. And Jake, the engineer, is going to interject here. What is it?
Mindy, I would love to have you come and take over, but I don't know if I could handle Cindy and Mindy at the same time.
We can barely get a word in edgewise with each other. Yeah, so
how about we could to Cindy, Mindy, and Jake, and they'd go, "What the heck is going on out there?"
Yeah. Who is? And Jake would have to try and keep us calm and say, "Okay, now it's your turn, Cindy. Go." Okay, shut up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But Jake is a doll. He started interning, and now he's like running the place. And Richard's kicking back and enjoying himself.
Well, he sounds like a real sweetheart.
He is a sweetheart.
Oh, thank you, Mindy.
He is. And I brought my grandchildren. If you bring your grandchildren and the horses don't jump up and neigh and stuff, you know that it's okay. The kids are okay. And so the grandchildren are great barometers. If they like somebody, then you know they're okay. And so
because kids are really honest.
Boy,
children
are they.
So honest. You're not going to get by with anything. If a kid likes you, you know you're okay.
That's exactly right. They've got great intuition. So
they do.
Yeah, they come in, and when they see Richard, they put up the sign of the cross. But I'm not saying anything about that. But it's his way. It's his way with kids. Okay, so Mindy, you went to Elvis Fest, and how much fun! That's like paradise, right? Everything is Elvis. Everything's Elvis, right?
Holy moly, if I can go back to that. I was invited to do the Elvis Fest. I had no idea. When I tell you I had no idea, I had never been to an Elvis Fest. Again, I've just come out after all these years, and I'm not aware. Somebody said to me, they were talking about an ETA, and I said, "What the heck is an ETA?" And they said, "What do you mean you've never heard of an ETA?" I said, "I have no concept of what you're talking about." I said, "I've been living in a cave for the last 40 years, and after we left Elvis August 77, I pretty much shut down and just continued my life very privately." And so I'm still learning about all this stuff that has to do with them, and it's crazy. So I was invited to this thing, which was in Las Vegas, Nevada, by Nareda Howe, and a lovely, lovely man by the name of Jason Sherry, Sherry, out of New York, invited me to be a part of this and to speak with Dave Hebler. And I had not seen Dave in over 40 years, again, since Elvis' passing. And so we met up, and I just hugged him so tight. It was so good to see him. And, we were a bit concerned about questions that might come from the audience about the book that he wrote with Sonny and Red. Mm-hmm. And it's like I said before, Cindy, Elvis was the type of man that forgave. He was the type of man that moved on with his life. He was taught to forgive. We all need to forgive. And, for different reasons, I cannot hold grudges against people. I can't be angry with people. We each have our own personal viewpoints about things, and I respect every single person's viewpoint. It's not about me agreeing or disagreeing. It's about respecting someone's perspective.
Well, to catch people up, that the book that came out that just sensationalized Elvis's life, and that he was upset about because he felt like things had been said and maybe not as honest as they should have been said, but it really made him look bad. And so it was very difficult for him.
But you see, what the fans don't understand is that these men loved him. They absolutely loved him. And in their own way, they were trying to do something that they felt would wake him up. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not privy to all that went on there. That was not for me to know. But I can only say, on a personal level, from knowing these guys, that they were nothing but respectful of him when I dated him. They loved him. They would have taken a bullet for the man. They did anything and everything they could for Elvis, and they are lovely, lovely men. Dave Hebler is a wonderful human being, and Sonny West was, and Red West is, and, I can't say anything bad about the guys or anything negative about them. Dave gave a wonderful interview. It's absolutely clear in the audience's eyes and perspective that were there that he loved Elvis. And he did a wonderful interview. He told wonderful stories. He told the story about one time when we were all on tour, and I'd forgotten the story. And Nareda asked him about, we heard that you had an incident with Mindy on the plane with Elvis. And, Elvis was afraid of flying, and I am petrified of flying. But later in his life, Elvis got used to it. But that's why he took the tour buses early in the 50s and 60s, because he didn't want to fly. He was afraid of flying. So, they drove the bus back and forth from, California to Memphis a lot.
Good grief.
And so Dave recalled the time that we were on tour, and he said, we had such bad plane turbulence. He said, and I remember, he said, I had a drink in my hand. We were all sitting around in the belly of the plane talking, and we had such bad turbulence that everybody's food and drink just hit the ceiling. I mean, it was a compression failure.
Man.
And I thought, oh, man, I said, we're going down. This was it. And I clung to Elvis like crazy. And he said, honey, he said, I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. Well, I became, as David said, catatonic. So when the plane landed, everybody's getting off the plane. Elvis is getting off the plane. And, he thinks I'm right behind him. Well, I wasn't right behind him. I was the last one on the plane, and I could not move. And so Dave said, in the interview here, he said, I really looked at her and thought she was just putting us on. He said, we really didn't think she was really in a catatonic state. He said, but then I looked at her again and again, and he said, I realized the poor girl could not move. And he said, at that point, he came up, bless his heart, he picked me up and carried me off the plane.
Wow.
And I didn't remember that, and I guess because I was in such a state of shock, I don't even remember it. And he said, oh, yeah. He said, I carried you off the plane. And he said, and Elvis was at the bottom going, what the hell's going on? And there I was, like ready to be taken to the emergency room or something.
Yeah.
And I was a complete wreck. I mean, just a wreck. And so, it was just so nice to share and hear some things that Dave had talked about, and funny stories. And the audience was very respectful, and they loved it. And Dave is a very funny guy, and his delivery on some stuff, as I was listening to some stories that I'd never heard, and he was listening to some stories he'd never heard, because we weren't always around each other.
Right. It was like a reunion, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was just wonderful. I mean, really, really wonderful. And then the shows were just something unreal. And now I want to talk about this kid. I say kid.
And first you have to. You said ETA, and of course we all are thinking
estimated time of arrival.
Estimated time of arrival,
yeah.
but it stands for Elvis Tribute Artist. I found that out today.
And so I kept getting it mixed up, and I kept saying when I first learned what ETAs were, I kept saying, "Oh, Elvis Transitional Artist." And I said, "No, Mickey, it's not transitional. There's nothing transitional.
Nobody's trying to transition him. No,
right? It's Elvis Tribute Artist." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, what do these guys do? What is it?" And so they said, and so for the longest time, Cindy, for the last year, I've been thinking it's these guys that are trying to be Elvis Presley.
Right.
And they're trying to look like him and sound like him and move like him and dress like him. And so for the longest time, I have to say very honestly to the public that I did not have a good concept or a good idea of what this was, because I had never seen one in person. Now, let's go back a few months when I get a message from this fabulous lady. Her name is Carmen Wick, and she had seen me posting and come out on Facebook, and she was very gracious and just a sweetheart. So she got a hold of me. She invited me to the opening to help promote their new fan club, which is called Blue Suede Shoes of Los Angeles, California. And they were having the first meeting in Long Beach, and she said, "Would you come?" And I said, "Of course I will. I'd be happy to," because we don't have a lot of fan clubs here in California. You see them mostly on the East Coast, England, Australia, and in the South. But we don't have a lot in LA. So, being my hometown, I said, "Of course I'll come." So I came, I went there, and before I went on, they had this young artist named Jacob Roman. And I want to tell you something, Cindy. I was blown away.
Okay, now you
Now,
got
this
to you got to hold, Mindy, because I've got to go to a break, and that's going to be the tease to the break is to find out all about Jacob Roman, someone who had dated Elvis, was in love with Elvis, he was in love with her, and she is blown away by this person who is an ETA, Elvis tribute artist. We're going to talk about him when we get back from the Cindy Cochran Show. You're listening to a reality radio on Truthful Tuesday with Mindy Miller. We'll be right back.
A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Relax with a cup of joe or your favorite drink for the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce Chamber Chat. The show airs on the first Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. on Lone Star Community Radio. Join hosts Courtney Galley and Brian Bondi as they chat about the Chamber's events and programs for the month, and invite Chamber members into the studio to talk about their upcoming events and businesses. Learn about your Chamber with Chamber Chat every first Tuesday at 11 a.m.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
And we're back on the Cindy Cochran Show. Thank you so much for listening. We really love our listeners. And we love who we're listening to right now is Mindy Miller, one of the last girlfriends of Elvis Presley. And she just got back from an Elvis Fest. But she wants to talk about, the ETAs, the Elvis tribute artists that are out there. And we've seen them in movies. You've seen, there's got to be like 3 movies or so that they talk about people that are getting up and trying to impersonate Elvis and contests and things like that. But it's a big deal now, and you could be chosen like the next up and coming, Elvis star, ETA. But it's funny that they have their own politically correct way to say it. You don't say Elvis impersonators anymore. You say ETAs. Okay, I get it now. And we're all more well informed because of Mindy Miller. Mindy, you're back, right? Oh. You're with me. Are you there?
I'm here.
Uh-oh. Have I got a bad...
Hello.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. Now we can hear you. One of our listeners has an amazing crush on your voice because they hadn't seen you, but they said that lady's got the most beautiful voice. I love listening to her.
Bless his heart. What is his name?
Dennis O'Connor. I'm not going to give you his number. I'm not going to spoil the image. No.
Well, Dennis, if you think her voice is beautiful, you should go look her up on Google. She's gorgeous.
Oh, he has Googled everything, to see her image.
Thank you.
Because he said, wow, I just love listening to her voice.
Big shout out to Dennis. Thank you, Dennis.
Okay. Well, that made his whole life. That was good. Okay. Now, Mindy, because this is our last segment. I can't believe I asked Jake. I said, is this our last, or where are we? And he says, this is your last segment. I'm like, okay, so we got to get through this. Tell us about Jacob Roman, and then we're going to get to another segment. So give me the dope on him.
So Jacob Roman is a 21-year-old artist, and he does a 50s Elvis that you cannot believe. Now, to see him, honest to God, I was so blown away by this guy. And he came up to me after the show, and we took pictures, and we were talking a little bit about Elvis. he is so charming and so humble and so gracious and so talented. And I said, how old are you? And he said, 21. And I said, my God. I said, you're doing as an Elvis tribute artist at the time that Elvis was coming up and beginning his career. And I said, I think what's so intriguing about you is not just your talent, but the fact that you're starting your career as an Elvis tribute artist when Elvis started his career.
Right.
And he became, started coming to be really well known and all this. Cut to the Elvis Fest in Las Vegas. So Jacob Roman is there. He comes out. Now, I don't know how many amateurs there were, but right now he is in the category of an amateur. But I predict by this time next year that he will be the next top winner, and he will move on into the professional realm. What they do is they go around, a lot of them, to all the different Elvis Fests. And he won first place this year as a fan favorite, which tells you everything. And then, unfortunately, he came in fifth. I was very, very disappointed.
Good.
I have to say,
No.
I was shocked and disappointed. But I think perhaps that the judges might have thought that because he's young and he's got his whole career ahead of him, that he had time. And someone else was chosen, who was also a very excellent singer. But Jacob does a 50s Elvis that takes you back to the time when Elvis started, which is so exciting because we could now go with Jacob and relive all of Elvis's career. But I will tell you, the thing that I was so impressed with is that how genuine he is and how genuine most of these ETA artists are, and I did not realize it. And I have to say, they love Elvis so much, and a lot of them, including Jacob, were brought up on Elvis. Because I said to him, how can you be so young and know Elvis Presley? And he said, because my parents brought me up on him. And I said, there you go. I said, the fact that people in our age group and younger are turning their kids on to Elvis Presley and telling them what an incredible entertainer, but what an incredible human being and man that Elvis was, and that these kids are now following him and listening to the content and the DVDs and the albums and watching the movies and seeing what he stood for religiously and spiritually and in every way else, gives me the hope that Elvis will continue to move on and on and on.
That's right.
In the hearts of all these young children growing up when my generation is dead and gone, Cindy, because we won't be around anymore to speak about him and share about him firsthand.
I think
so it's going to be the people underneath me and then the grandparents and all that. And I want to tell people that Jacob will be in Memphis this next month, and they can look him up and find him and follow him in Memphis. And I just want to wish Jacob so much luck and good fortune. And he's got a big following now, and it's only going to get bigger and better. And the ETAs, Cynthia, I do want to say, love Elvis so much, and so they do this because they love Elvis, not because they want to be Elvis Presley.
Right.
They love him so much that this is their way of showing their love for Elvis.
You know, I told Mindy, I said, look, be sure and tell him, she's going to see him in Memphis, and tell him that we did this on the show, we talked about him, and then that we want to do an interview with him.
So it's a really cool show, actually, what they're doing in Memphis. It's called Memories of Memphis, and they've got tributes to Carl Perkins, Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, and Elvis Presley all in one show. And the Elvis Presley one is Jacob Roman. So that's an awesome show. I mean, talk about, I'm not a huge Carl Perkins fan, but Jerry Lee Lewis, Johnny Cash, and Elvis Presley, the three of them, that's incredible.
And I've never, I haven't met all these ETAs. I've met, I will be honest, I've met a few. Some of them I've met are not very good, and they have no business being ETAs. They just don't. And I'm sorry. I'm going to be very honest. But these other guys that do their homework and they diet and they exercise and they look great and they present themselves, because you are emulating the most iconoclastic entertainer this world has ever seen. And if you're going to do a show about him, then
raise yourself up and be the best that you can be.
Yeah, if you can live up to Mindy Miller's standards, then you're good.
I'm sorry to say it. I'm really sorry to say it, but
that's true.
I looked at these guys, and I have to say, these guys that have won the world over, all these contests and things, I really give them, the triple gold star, because I had no concept. I really didn't. I had no concept until I, sat up front and close and looked at the moves, the hand gestures, the facial gestures.
Oh, they
what
studied.
They go through
yeah.
with the hair, the costumes. It's years and years, Cindy, of absolute study. These guys sit there when everybody else is out having a good time doing something. They study this man. They absolutely love him. I had no concept of what goes into this. None.
Well, let me tell you, I got to tell you, I've got to brag, okay? I got to brag. My grandchild, 12-year-old Samuel Combs, signs up for the very first talent show they had at his school, and he tells his mom he's going to sing Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And she goes, honey, you need to do something more, contemporary. And she goes, no. He says, no. And she really fought him on it because he has a great voice, but she says, it's not showing off your voice. He says, that's what I'm going to do. And so he went and he auditioned. He got in the audition. He's in 6th grade. He won the talent show with Can't Help Falling in Love with You. And his kindergarten teacher loved Elvis Presley, and he never forgot how she talked about it, brought somebody in that act like Elvis and all. And so, and of course, it was the music in our household, and he knows the songs. But I just have to tell you that because, Elvis would have been impressed.
I'm hoping as we're passing that
Right.
these new generations of kids coming up will have this appreciation for
Sure.
him. And that's why I'm trying to get out there more and more and talk about what an incredible human being Elvis Presley was, and what he did for music, and what he did for people in general, and what a wonderful, good human being this man was, so that there's something that the kids can grow up today and say, here's somebody, that
You can look up to.
showed people how to live, to look up to somebody, and that they can perhaps emulate in a way, and I don't mean just on stage as an ETA, but to do good by other people and love other people and honor other human beings, because that's what God put us here for, is to love each other and raise each other up and to be the best human
being. Brother. No, that's exactly right. And that's what you have. Yeah. You keep this going, and we appreciate it. And we now have to go, but you can go to Mindy Miller's Facebook page. You can go to and see all the pictures she has from the Elvis Fest. And tomorrow we've got Don, so we're just going to keep this Love Fest going. Okay, Mindy, we're going to keep it going. And I appreciate you so much for coming on, giving us your time, getting up so early, and having to and put up with that.
This is fun, Cindy, and I just want to thank you guys for inviting me back on. I just think you're a gem, and I love the fact that you promote him and promote every good thing about him, and God bless you both, really.
Well, God bless you. Thank you so much, Mindy. Mindy Miller, ladies and gentlemen, was in the house, and we appreciate you listening, and we'll be back tomorrow with Don Wilson on the Cindy Cochran Show, Real Reality Radio. Hi, this is Cindy Cochran, and I want to thank you for checking out the Cindy Cochran Show and invite you to listen live every weekday morning from 10 to 11 on FM 106.1 and on 104.5 and globally on irlonestar.com. The show you just fell in love with was recorded and will be posted on our podcast channels on iTunes and Google Play. You can even watch the show on our YouTube and on TV with our City TV Channel 12 on Suddenlink. So make sure to subscribe to keep up with me. My Facebook page, The Cindy Cochran Show, is always a good place to contact me through messages, to interact live on the air and ask questions, make suggestions, whatever.
Don't miss Lone Star Community Radio on TV and YouTube. Our talk show and music shows are featured on Our City TV, Suddenlink Channel 12, and have their own YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe to keep up with posted shows and comment on them below the video.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show is recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.